Oi, oi! Episode 8 of Ranting and Racing. I say it almost every single week. How fast are the weeks going? But we've got Cheltenham's November meeting coming up this weekend. Entries will be, or are already out, aren't they, for the horses that have been put in there? There's a few races that look semi-interesting. Jamie doesn't seem to be as excited as I am, but I'm going to really get stuck into him for final declarations. We talked on last week's show that we might give you a bit of a preview of early thoughts. Still TBC. We'll let you guys know on that stuff. But I'm sure a few of you will be tuning in preparation from last week. There was Twitter spats, Twitter situations, and all sorts of stuff going on. We've had a few rants that have been sent in as well. So I'm going to peel through some of those. We can look at some performances from last week as well. And then we'll just see how the show goes. So, Jamie, how are you doing, mate?
Good, Dave. Yourself? Episode 8 already. We're 2 months into this shit. Oh no, I was very sensible for once. I just went playing golf and had a few things to do on Saturday evening, and I said sober all weekend, Dave, but I won't be sober this weekend.
No, well, that's what I was doing it for. That was my preparation for the November meeting, to get a few beers and to get used to it. I can't hack it. The only thing that saves me anymore is sleep. And you'll know, being a parent and working, we don't actually have that option. It's not like you can drink a load of water. You can't just get a load of sleep. It takes time, doesn't it? But that's enough of me moaning. I suppose this is a bit of a ranty, racy type show. Punting wise, just to quickly cover that off for the ones I put up on the video, only small bit of return. 137.50 went out, 37.50 came back for a place on percussion, lost a tons. That's a minus 73% return on investment. The roll-in now is minus 17%, but it's early doors. I think there's going to be a few bets to be had at some point in the season. There might be a couple this weekend, so obviously stay tuned for that. How about you? Did you keep your powder dry? Did you have a few bets? It was obviously down Royal with Gordon Elliott's show, so don't think there was too many prices to be had. But did you get stuck into anything?
Yeah, as I said, Dave, was out playing golf, and I did that long list of Cume, and I did 6 horses, and they all won. Knackers, Rubo, Down Memory Lane, all those type of ones that won. I said last night on the thing we were on that I was just annoyed that I didn't put Jerry Clam and Ashley Meadow in, but that's just been greedy. Then I was very confident. I put €50 double on Master Chewy and Sense of Duty. Then I said, here comes the second night is creeping in. I had 20 on the Model Kingdom. He was second. It's just like, when you come off the golf course, they said, this Cume's going to win, and then you just start throwing away money. So I think I lost I won 140, I think, on that Cume for a tenner for the crack. I think I lost 100 of that on Saturday. Then I did a Yankee yesterday, and Corbus crossed it, because I had the first 3 up. I had Dino Blue, Slade Steel, and Mahan's Way. I was waiting on Corbus cross. I cashed out the Cume of it for like €80, and I let the other one ride for €190 or something like that was the return, and of course I ended up with a tenner back up or something. It was a small money bet. Euro Yankee, something like that. So then I had a few bets at Sandown, and they all lost. So probably broke even on that. Could have won 40 quid at the weekend, or something like that. As I say, keeping the powder dry, and I reiterate this, it's just a build up all year. Do you know what I mean? This time of year I don't go mad at all. I probably will up my stakes more when it comes to Christmas, when I know more about the horses, really, basically.
Yeah, and I think it is just that, and it, like, the first and foremost, we come into this the same as everybody else out there. We're punters, like lovers of the sport, so there will potentially be some. I mean, I'm speaking for both of us here, but it's probably putting words in your mouth. There'll be some probably bets that we shouldn't be putting on, maybe just for interest or just for the sake of having a bet. But with the grand scheme, that at some point we'll get some bigger bets and hopefully some better value. I did touch on that with Master Chewy. I know you said you put him in a double there, but I did a video of him. I had him where he was priced to be. Like that's where, like, I guess, like, the value argument comes in. There will be plenty of horses that I would want to back at a price that I don't get that might then go and win, because obviously fundamentally I still think they're going to go and win the race. But he was like mighty short, to be fair. And and then the fact that they omitted loads of fences, potentially the ground was like a tiny bit soft. It's just one of those. You want a bit of compensation in the price sometimes, I think, but that's what tends to happen, doesn't it? You find those types of bets, you have them in a double or something on a weekend. Whereas I don't know, I'd rather just be trying to get stuck into them. If the price isn't there, the price isn't there. We've got to show some sort of patience, haven't we? Right, I reckon we move into ranting because there's plenty to talk about. It's already been pulled up on the comments down here. I've used the thumbnail as some sort of debate. I was going to put boxing gloves on the two of them as well, but I didn't do it. Cheltenham Exchange have called it out. Should we mention the Daryl Adam Wedge saga on Twitter? So I'll just kick off with what needs to be said on it, I think, and then we can speak to you, and then you guys in the comments can say whatever it is you like as well. The biggest frustration for me on it is in the game that we know and love, which is horse racing, there are different ways that people do things, and there are some things that I don't want to say look more obvious than others, but there are some things that look more obvious than others. There is always like people poking and prodding to try and make a situation out of something. So the long and the short of it is Daryl's obviously in a position now where he's worked his way into a big like brand with Betfair, and it makes him more of a target. People have always liked to spat with him to try and get him wound up to see if he'll say something after. But he wasn't the only person that said something about that ride, made a comment. And I guess like it depends on wording and all that sort of stuff. But I guess the purpose of what was brought up and the reason why everyone gets annoyed with it is, why is nobody having a conversation after the race to try and explain that ride? Like if you were a Joe Public, that was your first ever day at a race course, and your mate backed the winner and you'd backed the second, you would question why is one jockey trying and one jockey's not. And I know people will say, Carl Hinchy put it out there, didn't he? The guy that's getting out of horse racing because he can't be asked with affordability checks, never having another racehorse, except he keeps tweeting the fact he's got another horse running this weekend, was saying that he's a nice, sympathetic rider. He was out having a go about Mad Max, David Maxwell at Newbury the day after, saying he's one to put on the tracker. So there's people out there stirring the pot, right? But you can say whatever you want about Adam Wedge's riding style. You can say what you want about any jockey's riding style, but you would say that the majority of jockeys would look in a similar fashion. Like some of them will bob up and down if they're amateurs, all that sort of stuff. But if there's a type of way that a jockey's going to get the best out of a horse, you would think that the 90% of jockeys that ride more animated in a finish would suggest that produces better results than just minding a horse, not using like the cushioned whip or any of that sort of stuff. So the main issue for me is it was a ride that doesn't look like he's ridden out to get his best position. Yes, they might be minding the horse. Yes, they're looking for the welfare of the horse, all that sort of stuff. But it's a 3-runner race. They interviewed the winner after the race. They interviewed Paul Nicholls on Tamaris after the race as well. Just speak to Evan Williams. Do it before the race. Do it after the race. And it's the epitome of what wrong with the situation is Daryl put something up there. Evan Williams has obviously seen it, and rather than just being quiet, whatever it is, does his little clown emoji, rather than saying, this is what it was, Daryl, I'm happy to have a conversation with you about it, whatever it is, to try and like make him look like it, puts the clown emoji out there, makes him look like more of an idiot as far as I'm concerned, and then you just get all the bum brigade that just go out after him, that just want to be like, oh, look at me, I'm best friends with Evan Williams if I like his tweet. But what actually happens is a lot of people are just trying to dig out somebody else just because they're being arseholes, like they know better than anybody else. The fact of the matter is, it didn't look great. It's something that we've seen in the Silks and the trainers thing before. I'm sure it is perfectly fine. Like they are doing it for a reason. It's the fact that we're punters, we're having bets on a race. And if you look at a horse and you have a bet on it and it's not being ridden to finish its best position, that's not what anyone signed up for. And that's not what they're supposed to be doing. So it's just the blasé-ness of it. And one of the guys that was proper getting stuck in as well, I kept reading through the comments, 3 or 4 comments in was saying, well, I haven't actually watched the race, but I know what Daryl's like as a person, and I'm pretty sure that he's got this one wrong, and he's just having a go at some for the sake of it. So it's just lazy Twitter, cold, slow Monday or whatever day of the week it was. People are just being bellends about it, and I did speak to Daryl. Obviously, I do quite a lot anyway, and he has said that I'm happy. Or he doesn't want me to mention it, but he said if I want to, I can. He didn't get told by Betfair to put it down. I know people will say that sort of stuff out there. He just took it down, and we know like he's not the type of person to necessarily back down. Shouldn't have to grovel or do anything about it after, but he's not trying to do it to cause a massive confrontation in the world. He's a punter the same as us. Like I said at the beginning, when I have bets for the sake of betting, we want to punt, we want to do all right out of it. He's just one of the sports fans. But of the like 50 people that commented on the ride looking dodgy, he was the one that got in the the element and the barrels, didn't it? And people are only doing that because he's in a position where people want to try and fuck it up for him. So it's like a whole whirlwind of just nuisance on there. How did you feel about the situation, mate? Because you obviously tweeted after, I think you commented, didn't you, when you said on there, saying there was only one clown here, but then no one started jumping on your back, did they?
Yeah, I did, for backing up a person that I know for years compared to most people and around the Twitter sphere, as they say. I think it's stupidity from the trainer, really, to be honest with you, Dave. That's just my opinion. He's like, why would he get involved? And as you saying, to be honest with you, I didn't know anything about it because I was working on Monday and I didn't know, and the clue, and I saw this. Look, I turn off my notifications on my phone. The only thing I have a notification on is WhatsApp because I need for my job. All the rest of every other notification on my phone is off. So I have to click into everything. If I don't, it'll just go do all the time, and I have no peace, as they say. But I saw it and I was like, what's going on here? And I looked back and I goes, yeah, but sure, we all know this has happened before. Do you know what I mean? This has happened before with the man in question. And but as you said, where's the interview afterwards with the trainer? Because it was only a 3-runner race, and how couldn't interview everybody else? They interviewed Paul Nichols, I think, didn't they, over the horse? I think they did, didn't they? And there was no other interview, as far as I know. The gist I was getting, but trainers shouldn't be getting involved with that at all. And I suppose, as you say, is there a target on Harold's back now because he works for Betfair? That's just me. Is there a target on the people like target him because of the jealousy of the position he's in? I don't understand it really. Like he can't even have an opinion now. Like, and people are on his back.
Yeah, that's the sad thing, I think, as well, because the type of person that he is thinks he ended up getting more stick for taking the tweet down than he would have done for just sticking with his opinion. But you just can't win, can you? It's like the professionalism side of the minute, like there, Evan putting the clown tweet on there and obviously not being interviewed. He can't help if he's not being interviewed, but he could have offered to comment on there. But then you wouldn't imagine, I know it sounds mad, but if he'd have said something about, say, Nicky Henderson or someone, or whatever it is, those types of rides, those people, they're more professional in that they don't read into it. It's almost like there's no smoke without fire. It's wound up Evan Williams enough to put a clown comment on there because he knows he's been called out on something that potentially does need to be challenged again, whatever it is. I will just reiterate, there's a few comments in here, like 1,000,000% Betfair didn't tell him to take it down. Again, I understand the perspective that everyone has that's in there, but I would imagine, although you would have a percentage of people on like the like ratio that might have favoured Evan's tweet after because it was clown, but it was more just because having a go at Daryl, I would say that the vast majority of people, if you did a genuine actual poll, would say they thought the same as Daryl after that ride. Like they wanted to question what happened in there. So it's not that he's been told to take something down because he did anything wrong as far as I'm concerned. But we don't want to dwell on it too much because there's bigger things that happen in horse racing, right? Like we see horses that unfortunately pass away, like Grumpy Charlie that races when he's 50s, 66 to 1, putting up week in, week out. And then the jockey of that was getting a little bit of sticks, and people were saying they wish the regular jockey was on because he might have been pulled up. You see what's happening with Graham Lee at the moment as well. None of us are sat here at home as punters saying we want horses to be flogged to death or we want jockeys to put themselves into dangerous situations. But unfortunately, it is the nature of the beast. They've chose a career path. They've chose what they're doing. And I was like, I don't know. It's a subject where it's worth talking about to an extent, but it's just an opinion and it will just go round and you can't really say too much on it, I don't think, for anything from that. Do we want to talk any more about that or anything that you want to bring up before we go on to the people's rants? Because that's what the people want.
Where we sitting down last Thursday, my dad dropped over my kids, and then we were watching Alaho, and he wanted her to say, I want someone to get an opinion on this. And I said, yeah, go on, yeah, I'll put it out there. And he said, what I'd like to know about like a schooling session for Alaho, and he was only up against Janet, and he was getting away from him, and there was only Grange walking it, right? So, and he goes, the pace angle in the race would have been French Dynamite, and obviously he gets pulled on the day. And I like to see people's opinion on this, but like, I don't know what he was pulled for now, Dave. I didn't check it. I put it out there now. I didn't check it. Is that why was he pulled from the race when they knew the conditions of the race? They knew it was going to be soft ground, right? And bring him to the race course, obviously, and pull him last minute. And my father's rant is that why should there be a fine for that if there's nothing wrong with the horse? Because it's ruining racing. To be honest, it is like that race last time was pathetic. It was like it was lovely to see him back. There's no doubt about that. But the size of the field was ridiculous. I just wanted people's opinion on that. Really, to think, should there be? Is it too easy to pull a horse when there's nothing wrong with them. If you know what I'm trying to say, Jeff.
Yeah, I think there is ruling on it, isn't there? That the trainers, you're allowed to pull a horse a certain number of times on those grounds, as opposed to you can't just keep confirming them and then take them out. So I can't remember exactly what it is, but there is something in there to stop people doing it willy-nilly. There will always be, especially when there's a horse like an Alaho in there and there's prize money up for grabs, there will be entries where, as far as I'm concerned, they're just trying to nick a few quid, and they were probably playing chicken with whether Alaho was going to run because the ground was so bad, whether they were wondering whether he might get pulled or not. So
just to mention, just to like say like now, because the race with Adam Wage was a 3-runner race, and I see a comment here from Dan Overall saying my frustration is twofold. Not a word of the steward's report, and justifying like a public schooling show. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it kind of looked like too, Dave. You know, if you intertwine, because they're 2 3-runner races, is it kind of like public schooling? Do you know what I'm trying to say to you, instead of a proper race? Now, look, it was great. As I said, I'm repeating myself. It was great to see him back, but it really took the pace angle out of the race, because you know French Dynamite likes to go forward. I think it would have been a better race, and it's starving the public really of seeing better races. If you know what I mean. But look, that's just the world we live in at the moment, and it's midweek racing. I was looking at the camera coming past, and I've seen a lot bigger crowd at Clonmel Isle Chester compared to years ago, because those stands didn't look full to me. So that's kind of taken away then people going as well, if you know what I'm trying to say to you.
Yeah, well, you get that, don't you? Even this weekend with the Paddy Power Gold Cup, I think we've got 17 that have been confirmed, so we're not even going to get max field size for that. But I mean, it is what it is, isn't it? Like I do like to moan. We know that's literally the point of the show. But there's, I don't know, there's some stuff it's not irrelevant, but the small field stuff, I do agree. They like whether there should be something to say that if the horse has got to a certain time or conditions have to change significantly, or vets and all that sort of stuff. But then we'll just get the Breeders' Cup thing all over again, won't we? Where when one vet says a horse looks lame, you get too many other people's opinions in. It kind of goes a bit both ways, doesn't it? I like to see the better stuff. Obviously, my objective for Thursday for Alaho running was getting the easiest race possible. And there was a part of me, I even said it in the thing I was saying, you never know, Janadin might even get pulled just for the sake of the ground being bad and just let him have a cakewalk. But it did look like one of those races. And I do still think as well, if you've got a horse of the caliber of an Alaho, and then you've got something like a French Dynamite who's 155 rated, taken on whatever kind of Alaho he wants off of level weights, it's a bit mad. Even if he tried to go in front and like go toe-to-toe with Alaho, I think it would have done more damage to French Dynamite than it would have done Alaho. I know what you mean, like it would have made the race a bit more interesting, but I just think he would have just got eaten alive, whatever it would have been. But it is annoying, isn't it? Especially punters when you get excited for a race. If you'd have bought tickets for the day to go and see that particular race and then the dynamic changes, that's probably why there was no one there, was there? Right, I'm going to go through some rants. You happy with that?
One more thing, and I'm repeating, we're going through the thing before I leave it, and I won't talk about it ever again. As you say, put a Monty Burns circular sphere in front of a stand, and we might maybe be able to jump races and not have half bumpers. I suppose, getting back to that, it's kind of getting annoying. Again, I'm going to say annoying. But the only thing I suppose there is safety. The race courses have their safety issues and they have to abide by them. I suppose it'll always come back to me when Ruby watches with Paddy Power and he's there, the egg on Twitter, and you hero jump off a horse at 40 miles per hour. Totally understand that. But even Ruby Walsh was getting frustrated on Friday because the sun was gone behind the stands in Dun Royal and they couldn't jump the fences but found the 50s race. Fair enough, the one at the top of the hill, third last, you couldn't see. Now, you couldn't. You could see in the camera, you couldn't. But the two in the straight, there was nothing wrong with it. Like. And it's woeful as a product for the ordinary paying customer to come in. If you want to go watch flat racing, go watch flat racing. I've often gone to flat meetings, no problem at all. But it's getting to the borderline now of pathetic, really, because it really annoyed me on Friday watching that, because there was no need for the two fences to be out. It's desperate for the paying customer. And it was the same yesterday, mate. The sun looked the same on the camera for the Dino Blues Sir Gerhard race. 20-30 minutes later, they take him out then for the Grange Care West and the Corbett's Cross race. It's really, really frustrating. I don't know. I say the hands are tied back. You could go now 3 months, you won't see the sun. But it's just getting very frustrating. And I hope I don't see a Saturday and Sunday, Cheltenham, when I'm there.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a hard one. They've had loads of doled off hurdles at Cheltenham loads of times, didn't they? Where the whole straight just becomes like a bit of a bumper. It's
Yeah.
it's
It's the
I just
bump.
wonder
It's the,
again
I suppose
whether
it's the bumper fact that I'm getting at. It's getting a bumper feel of it today. Because to me, Grange Car West won a good bumper beating Salvador Ziggy. You're kind of got back in the horse that are good in a bumper because you know they'll stay and they don't mind going without jumping a fence or a hurdle. It's getting to that, and that's me. It's ruining it. As you said, there was 90 seconds from when Thing jumped the last till he got to the line, found the 50. Now people are putting him up for the turners. He hasn't jumped the last three. He might have fallen. He could have, it could have been a closer race. You know what I mean? With Corner Master, there was meant to know Corner Master can't jump. But that's besides the point. But like, it's getting really frustrating.
well, my biggest pet hate with it is, like, from a punting perspective, they should revise the market, because people getting stuck into Master Chewy the night before, they were I say forced, it's everyone's choice, isn't it? But if people wanted to bet him 2-1 was the top price, as soon as Betfair opened up their prices, that started to go. So you would have had to get involved well before you would have known that they would definitely take in the flights out, and that would make a difference potentially if you were having a bet on them or not. So that's a thing that annoys me. I think there should be a certain percentage that, I don't know, that just aren't allowed to be doled. It is hard. Maybe they should change the configurations of the tracks and make the finish line the other side of the race course so that the last few fences are not directly in the face of the sun. You think it always seems to be the last few flights that are remitted.
And my final point on that, I thought when we were on last night, I thought Ash Simmons made a great point. Is that when you go to Altai, the fences are all the way across the track, and there's no doll enough. So they have no choice but to run the races, and there's never an issue. Like, I know now the configuration of the fences and the hurdles are different here, I understand that. But there's never an issue in France with all those on.
It's because they've started doing it. It's like anything in it. As soon as you start putting the restrictions on the whip, or you start putting restrictions about the number of field sizes or any of that sort of stuff, it only goes one way. It will never go back. It won't be like the Grand National where they say, let's reduce the size of the fences, and then it doesn't make a difference. And then anyone say, oh, let's go back to the fact that we can increase a bit. Let's look at making it more of a challenge or whatever it is. As soon as you start on a flight, it becomes easier. And then all you'll do is each time, rather than in that 50-50 decision where you might say, fuck it, let's let them go, it won't even be a decision anymore. It will just be, if there's any doubt, then that's enough doubt to take it off. It's annoying, but again, it's part and parcel of this time of year. In it, I know it sucks. I know it is painful, but we just have to sort of bite it and wait, don't we? But it is killer for punters, especially because it makes you feel like you've got to wait till the very last minute before you can have a bet on, and not all of us have that sort of time, I guess. It's consuming, isn't it? Right, let's go ranting. I'm going to be careful with some of these because I haven't read them. Just muting your microphone for a second, Jamie, because I think there's a wee bit of echo. But anywho, I will leave names. I'll leave names out of this one. Fuck a certain trainer's name and others alike, and it's not the one we were talking about earlier. Oi, lads, love the show. I think this was touched on last week, and this is pocket talk. But there was a particular horse that was backed in the morning. It then drifted out by an absolute, like just ridiculously, like an obvious one. Fell out the stalls, never put into the race, and then just ran out the back, hidden, nowhere in sight. And like Jamie says about these small fields, if you get a free runner race and it is just a schooling session, you'll probably, I don't know, there's no hiding place. You see these bumpers or these maiden hurdles in Ireland where they have 40 horses running. They do it because it's easy to go and be hidden in the background. But this was a field that was in there, and he said it just doesn't get looked into because it's not like a famous name like a Burns or a McNally. Punters deserve a bit more light shedding on this. It's a bad look for racing, but what can we do about it? Essentially, when something like this happens, there is no, like, you would expect there to be a steward's report. Anybody that watches a horse race, right? And if I say one person, but if someone thinks it looks dodgy, then it might be. There should be surely someone watching the horse race, and then if there's a question to be asked, they ask the question. And obviously, when they ask the question, it gets fed out to the public, so we can say, all right, fair enough, this is what happened on the day. Because there are reasonable excuses for stuff. I backed a horse years ago, I think it was called the Prince or something like that, absolutely fell out the stalls, just won on like a head bob the time after I went to watch it. And I remember speaking to the jockey when he came in, I said, what happened to him last time? And the jockey said, my foot slipped out the stirrups in the stall, so I was holding on. And I know you can't necessarily stop a horse jumping out the stall, but a lot of the time there will be a logical explanation. But we're punters. Once the race is finished, if they didn't win, we don't deserve to know that. But that's where it's frustrating, right? You try and make it nice and inclusive for the sport. Try and make it nice and inclusive for people. You can't actually even have a conversation. And that's a painful bit. Jake Price sent in. I think he wanted to stay anonymous, so forget the fact that I said it's Jake Price. He gets really pissed off, right? And it's a very niche rant when people call a declaration an entry and vice versa. And he brought this up because a famous horse racing Twitter trainer account says it. So they'll say so-and-so is entered on Saturday when they've been declared. And again, it's really pedantic, very niche tweet, but Jake was getting pissed with that. I mean, sorry, I can't mention their name. We've got Dre's popped in about Thalim, the French horse, right? This is a good one as well because this came in a little while ago and obviously more stuff's happened since. He says, why the fuck are people getting so excited about a French yak with no form? Hilarious, the bandwagon people can jump onto just because the bloggers tipped him up. I don't actually mind the blogger, but this is horrendous. So what are your thoughts on Thalim and stuff? Like, I guess the stayers market is, well, I wouldn't say it's wide open, but it's a market where I feel like everyone's trying to pick something other than Teahupoo. And a lot of those people potentially would have already been on Gaelic Warrior. I feel like everyone's desperate to try and find something in the race, which is fine to go and do. We all might try and look at it at some point. But we don't know I don't know if we know for definite whether the horse is coming over. But we've seen lots of French horses that have come over and flopped. We've seen lots of horses that will run over there. Like, you can't use the form literally, although they're beating some British horses over, it's not the same yardstick. But on the same token, you can say, wow, absolutely dotted up, beating Classical Dream, Flora Importer, all the big names. But they won't mention that he got beat by Go a Lil. So it's, again, with everything in it, you can prove anything with facts. What do you make of it? Do you think that he deserves to be the price that he is? Do you think that the hypes surrounding him is real? Would you be possibly interested for him for the stayers?
I saw they're saying that they don't think they're even going to bring him over and just run him straight now to the stairs hurdle, apparently, because they're afraid that it's alarm bells straight away. Because I saw it this morning. It's alarm bells straight away for me, Dave, and they think they're not going to bring him over for like a cleave hurdle, and it's kind of said that they just want to see him. Like, they don't want him to see the hurdles in Britain, just in case something happens before the stairs are just going to go straight forward. But 5-1 is ridiculous. Regardless, like years ago, I know you had French horses coming over years ago, but like the commentators as well, I said, this is the champion racehorse. Like, yeah, fair enough. Like, but you have to come over to Britain and Ireland first if you want to become a champion racehorse. Because all the horses are bought from France now, and Irish points and British points, whatever. But anyway, no, I wouldn't be interested in it. Like, if he was 25-1, maybe, yeah, but 5-1, no. Yeah, exactly what you're saying, Dave. Like, you put up Teahupoo, obviously, and I backed him last year in the stairs hurdle, and I'm looking for a horse to beat him. And of course, as you say, like, people are now trying to find an alternative to Gaelic Warrior, and which is fair enough. I actually didn't fancy Gaelic Warrior myself for the rest because it's still going left-handed in my head. So, I think people are forgetting about a horse that came into my head during the week, and I thought he got an awful woeful ride last year in the stairs hurdle, and I wanted to cleave hurdle last year, and that's Gold Tweet. And where's he? That's one that came into my head. Another one that came into my head was, I think Ahoy Senior might go back over hurdles. Another, whatever kind of a horse he is, I think. And you mentioned Corbett's Crossmite. I see there's a mention there that he could come back, but I don't see it myself. I suppose he has to give another run over fences. The other horse, I suppose, we mentioned there the other night was Sir Gerhard. Now, I thought Sir Gerhard jumped well enough yesterday until he fell. I know you could come into the argument, was it the lowest one at the second last at Naas, but I don't know. I know Sir Gerhard won a 3-mile point, but does he stay to me? I don't think he stays. He looked like he barely got up the hill in the Ballymore. So it's a wide open market. But Thalimi, you'd want to see Thalimi in a cleave hurdle forever, even contemplating backing him for a stairs hurdle. And where are the layers getting 5-1? I never, unless they think it's a world beater. But look at the ground in Ante compared to the soft ground in Ante looks worse than Thurles ground on a Thursday afternoon in Ireland. When you look at it,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very, because as you said, he lost to Golden. He hasn't beaten, I suppose, a typical over 155 horse in the UK and Ireland. So 5-1 for stairs, I think he'd be absolutely crazy to back him.
It's mad, isn't it? And this is where the anti-post value argument comes in, where they say that it does get sapped out, right? Lots of us will do it for Supremes, whatever it is. We'll back a couple or a few horses, which I'm an advocate of. I think you should do it. And technically, if you get on them at the bigger prices, then you're not doing too much wrong. But if you take the Stairs Hurdle, for example, now, and you think that a lot of people might have backed Gaelic Warrior, say 12s or 14s. A lot of people might have backed Ante-post 12s and 14s. A lot of people might have backed this Thalim at 12s or 14s before. It's good to get a few horses in the book, but you may end up doing all of these, and then you actually end up with none of them turning up, or only one of them turning up, and you would be better to wait.
Exactly, because there's so many now, do you know what I mean? Like as you see Irish Point running on thing, and he's over 2 miles, and I kind of like that a horse starts at 2 miles and builds up to a 3 miler. He has the speed, the tactical speed to get him involved. The problem is obviously it's owned by the Rob course, so they're going to run the two. I presume they are, because where else is Irish Point going to go? You know what I mean? Yeah, probably.
But it depends what he does at Christmas, because they're going to run him in the Christmas hurdle. And I guess a big angle from Darrell is having two horses to go to war with isn't a negative, it's a positive. If they've got two darts to go there, and if he does dot up at Christmas, because I think Ante-post goes Hatton's Grace, then straight to Cheltenham. If Irish Point's got nothing to beat in that Christmas hurdle and goes and wins by a mile, you would think that they would definitely think about it. And just for my take on it, I like Ante-post. Ante-post's a dour stayer, right? So he stays and stays and stays. The reason why Classical Dream wouldn't win a Stairs Hurdle, but he'd win at Punchestown. 3 miles isn't 3 miles. It's different at different tracks. Irish Point, if you ran them at Punchestown versus Ante-post on good ground or good to yielding ground or whatever, I think Irish Point would probably beat Ante-post. But as soon as you put it onto a more testing 3 miles, Ante-post would eat him up for breakfast. But again, you're waiting to see what the ground's like. There's lots of variables in there, and we don't have to get stuck in Ante-post, do we?
No. I suppose I think it'd be like you could be looking at on the day. You could be looking at the favourites going to be 4 or 5 to 1 the field anyway. Do you know what I mean? Because it probably won't be a standout. I suppose the other horse to mention as well, Dave, is West Balboa and where she's going to go. But this could scream of West Balboa that if it doesn't win a long walk or the race. There's Newbury next, and then there's
distance,
distance, then the long walk. Yeah, sorry. I suppose she'll be judged on that, but she still has the option of going back to the mare. So until she proves it, I suppose then you can. Do you know what I mean? Because you're going to be proving the
and she might just be a flat 3 miler, mightn't she? And obviously you got to remember Cheltenham, Aintree, Punchestown all have that 3 mile race, don't they? There's a 2.5 miler as well, that Aintree, that could be picked out like an Irish Pointy type one. The key thing is, though, even just now talking about horses, me and you just spitballing and a few in the comments, about a dozen horses are going to get mentioned for the stayers. And that's the reality of it. It's a murky market, isn't it?
If you kind of look at it, isn't it good that we're actually talking about a race that might have fucking 10 runners that have a chance to win the race compared to some races, which it makes the conundrum and the puzzle better, I think. And that was what it was like years ago. So I suppose it's going to be one of the main races this year. It's going to be talked about the most. I suppose that's getting more publicity for the Stairs Hurdle. Maybe some more owners and trainers will say, well, let's go back to the Stairs Hurdle because everyone's thought about it.
It does peel a teeny tiny bit back to it is a championship race at the end of the day, and I'm sure lots of people want to find the winners of it, but it does almost feel a little bit like it's a race that everyone wants to say, oh no, I picked that one first out. So it is a bit of a hard race, I think, for people to get too far stuck into. But it's good for betting. It's good to try and have a look at it. But there are some that you just need to maybe wait a little bit more in there for. And I think this is the most we've ever talked about the Stairs Hurdle in November. One final rant that came in was this one makes me chuckle. I was going to try and share the picture on the screen, but my camera's gone murky and I didn't upload the image. Basically, Racing Post with Willie Mullins' comments has been published. Yeah, there's a few updated comments in there. And obviously Twitter and social media, there's a lot of stuff that's either clickbait, but you're trying to show something that's engaging and wants to invite people in, right? Especially Racing Post when they click people in. This was the quote that they chose to use, and you'll know exactly who the horse is. Everyone will. On pedigree, he's bred to stay well, but with his method of racing at the moment, he could even be the Supreme type. And the guy that sent this in said, honestly, Dave, I could rant about this stuff all day. We've learned nothing here. What is the point of putting the tweet out? And this is why it's so beautiful, right? I wish there was a voice note. It's just like saying, well, we're expecting our newborn to be a girl, but you never know. If it has a cock, it'll be a boy. Like, It doesn't need to be said, does it? But I suppose the key thing when we talked about this before was you were saying, why is no one talking about Ballyburn as a supreme horse based on what he's done before? And if anything, Willie Mullins, long-time subscriber of the channel, heard us, and that's why he's making these comments. He wants to make people aware. Just because Barry on Twitter has had a bet on it for the Ballymore at 25 and he's now a 5-1 favourite, doesn't mean that's where he's going to go. And it doesn't mean you should change your opinion of what you think a horse can do. We have to be open that they're all going to move about. York Hill was 8-1, I think, for the Ballymore the week of the race because everyone's still going to go to the Supreme, and then he did switch round. Like, it can very much be last-minute decisions. Even like Sir Goward, we touched on him earlier. He probably only ran there because the race was so crap that year. And you get these horses that are good enough that they'll win at 2, 2.5, or potentially the Albert Bartlett horses could drop back. But yeah, I mean, what's he going to do? The horse hasn't actually jumped a hurdle in public yet, and he's going to commit 100% to where he's going to run. He's not going to, is he? And it does tend to be, the split tends to be between Supreme and Ballymore, even though there's 5 furlongs difference. Whereas if you go up to the Albert Bartlett, there's only 3 furlongs different. The better 2 races for novice hurdlers really are the Supreme and the Ballymore, aren't they? But does it wind you up when they put that stuff out there? Because like when they confirm something's happening with a horse, it's good to get the update. It sends some traction. But when they're just sharing something that doesn't actually confirm anything, what's the point, eh?
No, exactly what you're saying, Dave. It's what you feel yourself and make your own opinion yourself. You don't have to tweet about it. I always said to you, he looked like to me after when I said that he was the biggest certainty of all time at the Punchestown Festival. We did a preview. That when you look at his running style and exactly what Ruby Walsh said, that he looks like a Supreme horse. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I thought because he's so keen, now he can turn around and he could be an Albert Bartlett horse because he could be slow. So no, he just screams to me. Just put like a Vautour, like he's not a Vautour, obviously, but a running style like Vautour. Put him out in front and catch me if you can. And look, he could be out the back and he's made hurdle now. Could be talking nonsense altogether. But he just looks to me from the naked eye that he looks that he can just go and he can go full out for 2 miles. And he just screams Supreme. I don't know where. I just said, I always said to you, where were they getting the Ballymore from? Because Mirasol West looks like he's all speed because he's related to Fernie Hollow, and Fernie Hollow is all speed. Now, as you go with the sibling thing, they never win. That's the other side of it. But you could see yesterday, I suppose it's easier not getting bring this in from yesterday that like Slade Steele was third to Ballyburn, went out and won it, made and hardly easy yesterday. I thought he was impressive enough. Mm-hmm. And then Mahon's Way, who was third to Mirasol West at Naas, then came out. Now Mahon's Way looks like he'd go around again as a slow boat, but he still won. And still thanks to form at Mirasol West because they look like at the moment the 2 best bumper horses that ran in Ireland last year, but they still haven't jumped a hurdle in public, so you have to a note of caution with that as well.
Well, that's it. And again, from like not a frustrating perspective, but probably more of an annoyance, I think, and maybe ignorance for modern day social punters, is that if you've got a horse that you in your head are adamant is a 2.5 miler and the trainers are going to run them at 2 miles, as much as it's frustrating for a period of time, if you are in fact right, at some point that trainer will step them up in trip, and when they do, you should be able to smash the granny off of it on a bet. Like, you have to look at this as a potential betting opportunity. Darryl does this loads and successfully with lots of horses where he'll speak to me, they will run over hurdles somewhere maybe, and he says that right-handed on a Wednesday over fences when it's a novice handicap chase is when I'll have a bet. And he's got the best patience to just sit there, watch them while they're doing what they're doing in between. But if he's got an opinion of what he thinks it is, he wants to bet that opinion. And it's the same as these sort of things as well. Just because Willie Mullins makes a decision to at some point doesn't mean that's definitely where they should be. I mean, he does know better than all of us, but it's the old adage of Vautour running in that Ryanair or running in the Gold Cup. We will never know if Vautour would have won that Gold Cup that year. However, Willie Mullins knew for a fact he would definitely win the Ryanair, so that's where he sent him. And it will be the same with horses like Ballyburn. If the Ballymore's a weaker option, like with a Sir Gerhard, he might send him there, but he wouldn't send his best horse to the wrong trip. He will run his best horse in the best race, and then he slots everything else around it. It's exciting to see what goes on, but please, 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 people, just have your own opinion, and please don't worry about being fucking wrong. Like, be wrong over and over and over again, because that's what will make you better, because you'll understand, actually, why was I wrong? What didn't I pay attention to? But you got to back your own opinion first. It's obviously good to listen to these bits of information, but when they are saying things like this, it more alludes to the fact that He doesn't know for definite. And 50% of the people think he's a Supreme horse, 50% think he's a Ballymore horse. That's just it. We don't definitely 100% know. But then there will be ones like Dysart Dynamo when I was saying about him being a Supreme horse. That's where I saw him at the trip. Doesn't mean he's going to go and win a Supreme, but that was the trip I had the opinion of. Same with Appreciate. I thought Appreciate would definitely run in the Arkle, and he doesn't. But that's just it, innit? We're going to get things wrong, we get things right. It's a game of opinions. Just stick with it. Right. Punting for this week. I haven't looked too much at any cards apart from Cheltenham because loads of it's being abandoned. Loads of it's pretty shit, I think, for want of a better word. But when it comes to Cheltenham this weekend, there's probably a couple of races I think could be worth mentioning. Anything you've looked at for the 3 days that at this moment, when it's bad short-term Ante-post betting, you might want to bet?
I suppose we'll probably do an all have a look at them and let people know what we think. I suppose when things get more towards the back end of the week. But yeah, I suppose it's interesting. Obviously, everyone's talking about that novice chase on the
TV's coming again. Hang on, sorry a sec. Keep going, Jamie. Keep going.
Keep going. I suppose it's interesting with the novice chase that unexpected party. I suppose is doubly entered.
Run Sunday.
He's doubly entered on Friday, and everyone's expecting him in the Paddy Power Gold Cup.
Run Sunday. I say 100% run Sunday. North from 3 over 2 miles. Got no chance in the Arkle race.
Unexpected party won't be running Sunday, but it was a race for him on Sunday.
The Paddy Power. Oh, Saturday then. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that race, remember, used to be on Sunday, that 2 mile novice chase, isn't it? No, it's on Friday. He could run on Friday. I don't know what they're doing with him, to be honest with you. I'm not going to back him for the Paddy Power Gold Cup. I'll put that with you. He's the wise man horse now because of Napper's Hill. I'm still at the moment stage there, but not really confident because of the weird whacker. I'm afraid of the weird whacker because of the way he runs. Their both run styles could cut each other's throats. Maybe now Cobden might sit in and let the rear whacker run himself out of steam with top weight, like, do you know what I mean? So I suppose the slur looks good. The horse that yourself and Daryl nearly absolutely have, I wrote about 100 books about this horse. John Bond could be running, but I don't see John Bond running because if there's no rain up during the week, doesn't look like the forecast doesn't look like there's umpteen amount of rain. And another thing, I said this now to a friend of mine today. If I see a report or a headline that say they watered the track because of no rain, I will absolutely, I'll cancel my flight. I would because you know what's going to happen. It always happens at Cheltenham. They'll put on the tap, and then 2 minutes later, the heavens open, and then it's like looking at a bowl of soup watching racing. If it happens, I'll cancel my flight. It's a waste. I go to Nevin and said it's better racing than you. But that's besides the point. But the other horse that I said,
it's not beside the point, though, mate. It's a very fair point. I think Thursday morning there's a few showers, but there are a lot of entries that are dubious on ground. Correct? Yeah, leave it alone.
But get into the store. If there's no rain, obviously Chambon won't run. He won't run him. There's no point in saying that he's not going to run. If there's a bit of good in the ground, he's not going to run.
And so who's the bet? I mean, we know who the bet is. I'll see if you can say it.
There's Bambridge. There's New Green Agra. And there's obviously the horse that I love, and it's Edwardstone, because I think he needs better ground. The only crib, I suppose, New Green Agra is probably his main race for the whole year. Edwardstone's heart, my problem with Edwardstone, they'd edited the Jeep break his heart in the Cheltenham race last January because he went past him and edited the Jeep got up. And some horses never come back from that, and it's just a fact. So I'm kind of coming down, I don't know why, and he's the lowest to find, and I'm coming down on Bambridge because if it's the quicker the ground, the better each chance. So one at the meeting last year, and me on good ground. As I say, the better the ground, the better each chance. For the Great Wood, I mentioned it last night. Just Kelton horse if he runs low to suit each way. He's now 10-1. I fancy him big time. Has the 3 runs. Getting the second race, as I said last night on the thing, that his second race in Britain at Kempton is the one that's sticking out to me. Third behind Northern Joe, who went on to be second in the pie. The fourth of the race was Favor, and it was won the county hurdle. Drop to 130. I think this is the one that I'm all overloaded. So if it runs in the Great Wood, yeah.
Right. Well, I will give the people the information that they need. Right. Aaron and George are in a little WhatsApp group. They talk about getting excited for the weekend. I don't know if they want their names dropped, but the names have been dropped. They love a little bit of short-term anti-post. They like to find a bit of value. So do I. 1,000,000%. There is a horse you have to back in the slower chase at the price. And there's also one you have to bet in the Arkle at the price. And I'll also give you one of the Greatwood. So you should. I'll start with the easy one, but the slower one's an absolute gimme. The Arkle trial, you've got to bet JPR1, I think. I think JPR1 will probably win the races 11-2. I'm as sure as I can be that Unexpected Party will run on the Saturday. I have no idea why he would run him in 2 miles. It's not his trip. It's JPR1. Even if Unexpected Party ran, I wouldn't mind the bet 11-2. So they're not going anywhere else with him, as far as I'm concerned. It is risky short 20 post, but 11-2, he's good. If you want to get real rich, stick him in a double with, but also back this one singly because this is the bet. Nube Negra's 8-1. Nube Negra first time up beat Altior on soft ground Boxing Day, well, the day after Boxing Day at Kempton. He's won the slower chase before. His reappearance record is obscene, and I know we want him to have that better ground normally with him. There's not that much rain about. He did destroy Altior on soft. Him at 8-1 is just a stupid price. Georgia said to me, have as much on as you possibly can, and if you still don't want the bet on Sunday, I'll buy it off of you. So that stands for every single subscriber of the YouTube channel. Have what you want on Nube Negra at 8-1 for the slower. And when he's there on Sunday, if you decide you don't want the bet, me and George will buy it off you because that's almost a rick. Like you say, John Bond might not even run. John Bond comes out the race. The market's already swerved up there. So he's a good bet. And Nemean Lion will win the Greatwood. I'm ever more confident that is the case. Price is obviously starting to dwindle a tiny bit. Lucia, I don't know whether I don't want her to go in because I've got to bet her first time in a handicap. But this is not the sort of race you really want someone to potentially exploit a mark without experience.
I agree with you there, Dave. If she runs, I will back her as well. Like I'm the same as you. When it's first time out in a handicap, but
you'd rather she didn't run it. You'd rather she ran an easier handicap, wouldn't you?
I rather, as we said, we rather her running the Jerry Field than at Newbury.
That's what we need to do. Right, they are the potential bets for the weekend. Like I've said, their short-term anti-post. It is a little bit dodgy, isn't it? But that's sort of as deep as I can get into any of those races so far. Me and Jamie are going to talk before the week. You're flying over in the week, so when we can get that stuff out to you, I don't really know. But at some point, I'll definitely give you my guys' view on all of it. I will be doing a final declaration more than anything, so I might just give a quick run through of each race on every race on every day. Wednesday night for Friday, Thursday night for Saturday, and then Friday night before I head off for the Sunday. But we'll try and get them out a bit earlier than that. So, Jamie, anything else you want to say before we let the people go and enjoy the rest of their Monday evening?
No, I suppose Dave was just like going through everything. I suppose quickly last week. I suppose Friday, 2 horses stood out in Exeter. It was Insurrection. Like to see where he goes next, and obviously stay away Faye. I see a lot of people saying it's a National Hunt Chase horse. Could be, but it's not going to run a National Hunt Chase. There's no way in God's green earth it's going to run a National Hunt Chase. It's going for the Brown Advisory. Looked like it was beaten, and then it kicked again. Now, look, the other horses were probably stopping Grey Dawning and changing the guard, changing the mind, or whatever it's called. No, I like stay away Faye, but it all depends which Willie Mullins horse obviously comes here. Better Days Ahead fed in the maiden hurdle downright looked like he was good. No, it's 3 out, long way to go. But I give him another chance. Obviously, Brighter Days Ahead, we said about it. There's obviously going to be more mares than Brighter Days Ahead yet. I'm not convinced with her yet for Mares Novice. I don't think she jumps well enough to win it. We found the 50, we mentioned him. Wing Kenton Napper said was impressive. Where is it going to go next? Is the next thing. I'd like to see it in the Courthouse Star. Like, where are they going to? How are they going to separate? Stay away from Napper's Hill, or is this Napper's Hill a 2.5 miler? Ruvo, whatever. Wait till Ruvo next year and dot around in a couple of novice chases and get stuff at the Shetland Festival. And of course, our famous horse. Oh, that's another horse you mentioned, Dave, that I backed the weekend. It was obviously 300 through 5. If it can't win at 4 and 4-7 over fences, right? I know it's first time out, but where are they going to go with it? Is that another horse? Is he marked as 1-4-5 over hurdles? Would you go back over hurdles with it? What do you think?
I mean, I don't think 300-3.5 wants to win, and unfortunately, he's one of those horses that he's rated as he's rated because he keeps placing well. Yeah, he wouldn't be one that I'd ever want to be having any money on at any point in my life. I don't think.
The other one,
stay away. Fate is an interesting one, right? So I like to bet in running, like to do the trade and all that sort of stuff. I try and keep myself as dry as possible this time of year. There'll be a couple of bets earlier. I did Foster Novak, but I try and stay off of it. But I will always go on to Timeform website. You can get the in-running prices. I can scrape them other places, but you can get it from there. And I like to do this more than anything because I like to know how wrong I was about stuff. So there are horses that will they'll win a race, and I'll look at that, and I would have said to myself, that's gone out to 5 or 6 to 1 in running, and I'll look at the top price it goes, and it was never bigger than 6 to 4, and I think, fucking hell, well, I wouldn't have been able to bet that then. Then I try and find some other ones. What price do you think Stay Away Faye traded in running at Exeter? I know it's hard not to be on the spot.
10, 16 to 1.
So I watched this and I thought he must have touched at least like 20s or 33s. And again, I'm really greedy, aren't I? 130 he traded. So I get
the second.
Well, yeah, because of the fact that he started to go back. So again, with those things, like that's another one of those where, again, like watching the race as much like he came back, like that could have been for small money. And then as soon as he started to show a bit more, like we might not have been able to get big prices, but it validates the performance that bit more because it's not just me and you that thought we would have traded a big price and then it's a good effort to come back. There are people with money in there that thought exactly the same. Like they thought he was gone, and then he's come up like the Undertaker and just come from the clouds and gone and won it again. But again, those things validate it, right? If I'd have said to you, stay away from never traded bigger than 2 to 1, it still wouldn't have changed your opinion on the performance, but it might make you question it a tiny bit more, mightn't it? 'Cause you might think, well, no one else saw the same as what I saw, type stuff. So it's interesting to see that stuff. I couldn't believe how big he traded. Not that I would have been able to get in at the top price. Not that I probably would have bet him, but again, I just think it backs up what you've said about that being a pretty good performance. Any more? 3 more?
I like Giovinco. There's something about that horse. I'd like to see him now. If they all turn up, it was like a Stay Away Faye, Nappers Hill, that horse that as mentioned there the last day too, Ile France, another French horse. And apparently this horse is going to come over for the Cotos there. So that's another interesting angle into the race. Looks like going to be if they all turn up, it's going to be a very hot race or halfway through the season in the 3 mile division over in the UK. I suppose another horse I mentioned last night there was I Care Allen. Looks like some fat job for the pair of Thames Final. But look, it's going to be a wise man guide horse now because we all could see what happened on Saturday, even regardless of the hurdles and it's obviously going to be put away now. It's qualified. It's been running all summer. 1-4-2 could be a little bit high for him, but you never know. And he's unexposed at 3 miles, so he looked like he was coming to win the race. And John Joe looked around and said, "Oh no, we'll stay now. We'll stay here. We're fine. We're qualified." So he's definitely, but he's probably going to be stupid short enough price for the Perth. It's not going to be short, but he's going to be up there in the top 3 in the betting regardless. So it's up to you then if you want to back it. I suppose, Jerry Glam, first time out of open company, great performance.
So Jerry's was good, right? And you can't. I don't think you can expect too much more from him. People do need to just remember though that it was I think 168 was his RPR. I think he got 167 on Timeform rating, and obviously people are talking about him going to beat Galopin Deschamps, one of the best Gold Cup winners in recent years. So he hasn't done anything yet that's anywhere near enough to be saying that he would win a Gold Cup. But you wouldn't expect him to just yet, right?
No. But you won't know till the Friday of March before we'd see. But look, it looks at the moment, Dave, it's between the two of them. When it's faster, so it comes out and improves more. But I think that was a bit of a fluke, maybe.
100%.
It punches down. So, do you know what I mean? I suppose the horse that we've mentioned loads of times is Brandy Love. Exactly what I said last week in the preview, that I would be seriously worried about her going right-handed, and I was proven right. And
we did touch on as well with her there, didn't we? That obviously she might have some sort of issues, but like I say, for the type of race that they decided to put her in, was very niche, going to be very uncompetitive, and it did almost scream out to be a little bit desperate, didn't it? Like she could just be gone now, couldn't she?
Could be, but to me is that remember she was being touted last year for a Coral Cup. and she's 144. I reckon she could switch back and go to the Carl Cup route, because I think, just what Willie Mullins said after the Mayor's Hurdle last year, she had an interrupted prep, and there was no pace in the race in the in the Mayor's Hurdle. I think she's just crying out for a truly run race, and I would be very interested in her in the Carl Cup off 144, even though she's probably has gone backwards. There is that issue there as well. But I'd like
another one to add to the stairs list, mate. She'll probably end up in there.
I suppose the other two in Goran was that Atlantic screams like he's an Ergomead 2.0, isn't he? He looks the same build as him. Jumps like he looks exactly a carbon copy of him. So he'd be better obviously if he goes over fences. And another horse that caught my eye at Goran was he was impressive, but it was a horse for Henry Mama called Beckett Rock, and I thought I'd like to see him in a better race because he travelled like a very, very good horse. And just one for a notebook for further afield at Beckett Rock. And I suppose then yesterday was the South of the Border, looked impressive. I'd see him in a better race. And of course I mentioned the rest. The other two races I suppose to mention, and that would be it then, is that I see people putting up Dino Blue for her Mayor's Chase. She's absolutely, in my book, no chance of ever winning a Mayor's Chase. She doesn't stay.
2 mile.
She's an out 2 miler. She's just going to have to run into Champion Chase now, and that's it. And the other horse is Grange Clare West, obviously, as we said, that very good after a break. And will it back it up? And to be honest with you, I'm not going to lose faith with Corvus Cross here, because I think if they ran again and Corvus Cross wasn't as keen, he started warming up towards the end of jumping fences. I'd be back with Corvus Cross to beat him next time they run against each other. That's me done. Thank you.
Yeah, well, you can't take stuff too literally with some form, can you? And Grange Clare West, right? Fences could be the making of him. He may have turned a corner. He always promised to be a good horse, didn't he? But he's done it all the time, where he's promised you so much. But if he keeps failing to deliver, which he's done in the past, it's no longer his fault if he fucks up. It's your fault for sort of believing it, isn't it? So he's an interesting one for it. Firefox in that bumper, they did the old jockey switcheroo, didn't they? Nice and conveniently. The rule 4 on that was absurd. So I think you basically got paid out 4 to 6 if you backed out before they took that other horse out. So they've never done that before for us, Jamie.
You kind of knew. You kind of knew in the morning, and I forgot to mention it. And I kind of copped it in my head when I was going to see that. And I was thinking about that race, and I was looking at the racing for the final day on Thursday night, and I was like, they're going to pull one of them, obviously.
It's always the one that's not got the best jockey on, because that one's gone out as a surprise. Because Firefox was second favourite at one point, wasn't he? But I thought that was a pretty good performance. Obviously, Antique, he was the last. He beat him in his last bump he ran last season. We don't know what's going to happen when he goes over obstacles, but I felt like last year they ran him over hurdles, which is what they wanted to do, and he was just a bit of a menace. That run first time this season, I feel like they probably just thought, look, let's just let him get out of his steam or whatever it is he needs to do, and then we're going to go hurdling with him. So he would obviously be hurdling next time out. I'd be real keen to see what he can do over it now, because he was so bad at jumping. If he was efficient in his hurdling, I reckon he's got a big enough engine to be definitely a graded horse. Whether he makes all the way to grade 1 or not is a bit bullish to say for a horse that couldn't jump hurdles. He was woeful that first time up. I still think he's semi under the radar, even though there's no right for him to be that. He'll end up probably being another one of the Martin Pipe plot type horses that everyone will latch onto at some point. So I would say have him on your radars already if you haven't already, although I'm sure most of you have. But then don't get overly excited if he starts to not show promise and think it's a plot, because it may just be that the expectation now is that he needs to do something good next time out. If he doesn't, and he doesn't back it up, then it may just be he's not going to fulfill the promise over hurdles. Some horses just don't. Some horses just have something in their head that stops them doing it. This is why I'd be the snob. I say any horse that's bred should be able to make an official rate of 135. If they don't, they obviously don't want to do it, or they can't do it. There's something physically stopping them. Anyway, that's pretty close to an hour, mate. So we'll wrap it up there. I will see you this weekend, mate. I'm sure we'll see a few of you people out there. If you do see us at the racecourse, feel free to come up and buy Jamie a beer. If you see me, especially on Sunday, I am going to be hanging out on my backside, so stay away from me on Sunday. No, I'm joking. If you see me, come and say hello, do like speaking, all that sort of stuff. I don't feel like you're obliged to do anything, but it'd be good to see some of you down there. There'll be some good bets hopefully this weekend. Hopefully not so many eventful things to talk about on the show, although it's not been that bad, has it? Everything calms down. That's the thing, isn't it? The way it felt on a Monday, and then as the week goes on, you start to realise what's more important in life, especially what's going on, like I say, with Graham Lee and then losses of horses, all that sort of stuff. it's not worth it half the time. So save your venting for on here. Don't be a Twitter twat and start having a go at people for no reason, and have a lovely week.